So my background is corporate training since 1985, and I've worked with companies like PricewaterhouseCoopers and Deloitte and Bank of America and U.S. Trust, Merrill Lynch, Goldman Sachs, and then we also have clients like HBO and Martha Stewart Living and Nickelodeon and Hyatt. So kind of diverse, and I have had a team of resources who go out and deliver some of the work on our behalf. As you can imagine, our business has been just slightly disrupted since going on site and engaging with people is no longer what people want to do. So like everybody else, we're pivoting onto the online platform, which we were in the process of doing anyway. So we're right there in step with everyone. I just delivered this particular piece to one of my clients, Schwab, and some of their sales leaders. So I'm going to take this from the angle of two things, both professional for those who are interested in thinking about this in terms of their professional world, and then also from a home standpoint. So a lot of what I focus on is behavior and how can people be more effective in client facing, or in this case, home facing interactions. And there are two things I really love. How can you best represent yourself and your ideas in a way that you're well heard? And how can you understand what others are saying? So how can you speak to be heard and listen to understand? And right now that seems fairly topical and really, really important. So let's take a look, and it might seem obvious, but I do think it merits a little bit of attention for people to be reminded. Let me move this over so I can see you and I can see my slides. I think it merits just a little attention as to why listening is so important. So I've got one anecdote from business and then some from personal lives. So one of my clients was asking why listen, and they came through a webinar that not dissimilar to this. They came through a webinar, and they had been trying to land a client for 3 years, and they went home, and a week later, that very client committed. In this case, it was a financial advisory, 16 million, fully funded in 45 days, unheard of in the history of the company. And this is after 3 years of meetings. And so they called this client in one of their many or regular client-focused meetings and said, what happened? And she said, it was different this time. I finally felt understood. They listened. So in the business world, being able to listen often is the difference between winning a piece of business and not winning a piece of business. Being able to navigate or get the attention of a boss, a board, a buyer, constituents, clients, communities. And we all can kind of see that and know that, but there are real financial implications when people listen well in business. On the other side, and you've probably heard this, and you know, pick your person here. My parents, my boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, teacher, just doesn't understand me. They don't understand me. They don't get who I am. And for the most part, when you turn into that relationship and say, what's going on here? It's a matter of two people not hearing one another, not able to get into a conversation where different points of view are brought up, and you can be in one another's company without agreeing, and at the same time, spend some time in one another's shoes, really appreciating what the other person is saying. So the implication of needing to listen well is what we want to take a look at, and then how to do that. Here's what I'd like to cover with you. What passes for listening but isn't? A lot of people think, of course I know how to listen. But most of us were trained to listen by sit down, keep quiet, and listen, which is not really learning how to listen. It's something else. What are the listening filters, which is a form of bias, the lens through which we perceive? A lot of times we position ourselves in the way we're listening and filter the information. So what are those listening filters, and which one is your favorite? And by the way, we often use all of them. And how can I really listen? What does real listening look like? And then specifically on Zoom. So let's see how much of this we can cover in the time frame that we have, which I think is about a half an hour altogether. So I'll ask you just to put this into the chat if you want, or blurt it out. I don't think there are that many of us. I can call on just a few people. One word. How in one relationship where there's conflict, how do I wish I could come across? So I want each of you to think about one relationship, business or otherwise, in which you're in conflict, and tag yourself, like, what is it that you wish would happen instead? I'm not able to see the chat room right now. So Felicia, maybe you can let me know what people are putting in the chat room.
Okay, so you want to see.
Yeah, so in the chat room, or we can just blurt them out. Sue, are you, because I can see a couple people, I can see Sue, Karen, Lisa, and Kate Sue. So can you each tell me like one relationship where you're having perhaps a little bit of conflict and you think to yourself, boy, I wish I could come across, and what's the one word you would wish? Sue?
Okay, so he's right downstairs, my son.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish I could come across as understanding and knowledgeable, like that I know what he's going through.
Ah, nice, thank you. Which might also be a form of empathetic. Knowledgeable would almost suggest that you have the solution versus you understand his point of view, which is a slight nuance. I just want to make sure I'm understanding what you're saying. Is that right? You're hoping to, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, empathetic, but I still want him to see my point.
Right. Empathetic versus in agreement.
Not just like, I got empathy. You do whatever you want.
Right. So empathetic being, I really understand your point of view, and is not the same as, and I agree with it. So how can I bring across that I understand it at the same time as not necessarily agreeing with it?
Right.
Okay. Right. Okay. Excellent. And Karen, how about you?
I would say I always want to come across, no matter what I'm saying, as kind and have grace, in anything that I'm saying.
And any, you don't need to name the person, anything that is happening right now, like a relationship where you can anchor this as we go through it, where you're thinking, ooh, and again, you don't need to name the person or the context, just curious if you have one in mind.
They're sitting here at my kitchen table, my children.
Hi, kids.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you. Lisa.
I was trying to be quite gracious about that.
That's so great. Well, have them come around the screen and listen. Maybe
no, they're not going to want to.
Okay. Lisa, how about you?
I actually want to say ditto, because the first word that popped into my mind was kind, because I can't think of a relationship where I'm in conflict, but certainly I don't always agree with my husband, but I want to feel like I'm coming across as kind, even though we don't agree on a particular point. And the other one is understanding. Like, I understand what you're saying. I understand why you're saying it. That doesn't mean I have to agree with you, but I hear what you're saying and I know why you're saying it.
Okay, awesome. And something that I really like, the fact that kind is coming up twice. I'm gonna go gender specific here, but it's not always, it's not gender. It's more the female edge versus the more masculine edge of anyone's personality, is that desire to not rock the boat, the desire to not create tension, and yet creative tension doesn't always have to devolve into drama. But there's a way to both listen and empathize and understand a point of view and have someone know they're understood and not agree. And the more feminine side of people does not allow them all the time to have that experience with one another. So learning how, and so we're going to take a look at some skills that let you actually be on that line between I get you and now you know that I get you versus I agree with you. It more opens up the opportunity that they then become more receptive to the possibility that you can share your point of view back. So that's one of the things we'll do in listening. Kitsu, how about you? I think I'm saying your name then, Kitsa.
It's Heitza, like the word height.
Oh, I did not know that. Okay, yes. Heitza, great, thank you.
I'm with that, what everyone has said, but I'm also hearing like the word committed. Like if we have a conflict, I'm committed that we work something out. Like I get what you need. I want you to get what I need, but I want you to know that we will find something that takes care of both of those needs.
Awesome. And right here, I love the fact that you just said that, because right here, if you'll see in this title, what is your intention? And intentionality is so important in relationships. A lot of times people go in and they're masking, they're putting on the mask of I'm here to understand you, but actually listening is not keeping quiet, waiting for your turn to talk. It's actually an active skill. You actually are burning calories when you are in the experience of listening. So learning how to do that. And here's what's true. Few people come into a relationship and into a conflict and into a difference of opinion or different thinking, today I'm going to make an ass of myself. I'm going to be a jerk. very few people come into it. So if our intention isn't there, something happens. And here I'm going to have you join me somewhere. So take your right hand, if you will, and I'm going to have you chop the air. This is your intention. I want to come across as kind, understanding, empathetic. I want to let people know that there's going to be a way through this, and I'm committed to making that happen. There's your intention. Over here with your left hand, if you'll chop the air, that is the actual impact you have. Somewhere between your intention and your impact, a whole lot of little things happen, and you either nail it and everyone walks away like, oh, what a kind person Lisa is, or how empathetic and understanding my mom is, or they walk away going, what the heck, you know, you've just made an ass of yourself in front of me as far as I'm concerned, and now we're into that conflict. So what we want to take a look at is somewhere between that intention and the impact is you, and it's 1,000 little choice points. And what most people don't understand is that this what happens between my good intention and what actually occurs, or the way I come across, I will potentially get triggered. And as soon as I become triggered in a conversation, my adrenaline hits my system, my limbic brain goes into fight or flight. It cuts off, the biochemistry actually cuts off my neocortex, which is where my thinking brain is, where my rational brain is, whereas my I'm in charge of this and I'm not at the effect of this brain is. And instead my limbic brain takes over and I'm at the effect of my emotions. And so I don't have full capacity. So the very first step in listening or anything is being presenced and recognizing yourself when you are presenced and not presenced. And I say that because it's a really important subtlety that most people don't understand, that your biochemistry will actually hijack you and you will no longer have control until you're far away from the event and needing to walk away in order to bring yourself back down and bring your neocortex back online. But even when you do get your neocortex back in line, now you need a skill set that lines up your good intention with the actual impact you have. And that's not always available. Even if someone doesn't get triggered or doesn't get emotionally roiled or hijacked, there's still this possibility that I'm perfectly calm, but I don't have the skill set to allow me to listen more effectively because I'm somehow mixing up my good intention to make this right by using a skill other than listening. So let's take a look, and I want you to notice, it's my favorite skill in all of in all of skills. Noticing, it means you're not wrong, you're not right, you're just paying attention to what's going on and what's at stake. So let me go to a different group of people whom I can see. Hey, Terry, you're next up, and then I see Michael and I see Paul. So can I just grab Terry? The relationship that you have in mind, don't need to tell us who it is or what the situation is. How would it help you if you could line up your good intention in the way that you are interacting with this person and the actual impact that you have? What would be the outcome as a result of that good lineup?
How it would help me?
Yep. Mm-hmm. And the relationship and world peace.
Good question. Probably not being so cranky / angry with this person.
Mm-hmm. Great.
And that obviously is a help because then you, whatever, it's just more peace.
Yeah, having more peace is a great thing. And by the way, we're not going to do it here. I did it in the drama one. So if we go back to the drama, there is a way to be angry without being at the effect of anger, and there's a way to be angry without being overly emotional. So this idea of being angry and not at the effect of it, or not caught up in it and not hijacked by it, so that I'm and yet I still know how to be clear on a boundary. We'll go, I think we have the drama triangle that I did a couple of weeks ago, and there's some good information there about the difference between being angry versus being blamey shamey. And knowing that I'm angry is a good starting point. You don't necessarily want to dismiss it because it's your clarity, and at the same time you do want the peace and you want to understand your boundaries. And so that's good. And listening helps a great deal in this case. Michael, how about you? What just an impact of good listening? If I listened well in this relationship, or it had the impact I wanted, what would be happening as a result? Might need to take yourself off mute for this one. Thanks, Terry.
It'd probably be similar to what Terry said, just a better relationship. I'm thinking about like a father-daughter relationship or whatever, just to slow down and not react so quickly. listen.
I love that you just said that, Michael. Not reacting so quickly. That being recognizing, that's where the noticing comes in. Recognizing when I'm triggered, as opposed to being able to be available to hear something that I can't control, which is another person's point of view, all the way through. Sometimes people have a point of view and it arcs. And what often happens is, if their opinion is counter to mine and they're halfway through their opinion and I cut them off because it starts stressing me out, and I'm having the reaction of, that can't be right. If it is, you're messing with my world order and it's not a good thing. As soon as I cut them off, they become more adamant because they want the feeling of arcing all the way through to a completion of thought and sentiment and understanding. And I'm cutting them off so it makes them more dogmatic. And now I'm at the effect, and boom, that's how it happens. So we want to parse the conversation. Paul, I was going to call on you, but I think I'm going to keep going if it's okay with you, just because I'm noticing the time. So
yeah, sorry, I just got a phone call in the middle of it, so sorry.
Oh, even better.
Bad listening.
Even better that I didn't. Okay, so thank you, Michael. I appreciate that, and Terry. So listening gives us, there's a lens through which we're paying attention, and listening filters often we misconstrue as listening. So Felicia, did we happen to send out the handout to okay, don't worry about it, not a worry. I'm going to jump right down here. There's something that we call listening filters. And listening filters are things that we do that, remember the behavior between my intention and here are these 1,000 little choice points. These are skills that we use thinking, oh, this will get me where I want to go. And actually they don't. So I'm going to now assign, hey, Paul, are you available, or can I not assign you?
I'm there, I'm here.
Oh, you are, okay, because I am going to use Paul and Julia. Are you available?
Yes.
And Melissa, oh, hi, Melissa. Are you available? Yep. Okay, great. And Julia? Yeah, you're there? Okay, so Paul, let's just play with a couple of these. I'm going to ask you to listen to fix. So this is the intention. And actually, Felicia, who do I want to call on? Everyone think about, well, actually, no, I'll do this. Paul, you're going to listen to fix. Someone is going to talk about a problem in just a moment. And I'm going to ask that when that person's finished, you're going to jump in and you're going to listen to fix. You're going to tell them how you think they should satisfy it. This is not actually listening. This is filtering for information that then lets you solve the problem. But the person on the other side, as you're going to see, doesn't actually feel like you've connected with them. They just feel like you just took over and are trying to control them. I love the drama queen. Let's go with a drama queen. So Julia, can you listen as a drama queen, listening with drama? When someone's talking and people want to connect, you'll see this a lot in middle school. It's not, oh, I hear you, say more. And what they'll do is they'll say, oh, that's awful. And you should have been so mad. Tell me every detail. And they basically like pile on. And then there's stealing the spotlight. That's another one of my favorites. Stealing the spotlight is when, let's say someone says, and then we went down to, Martha's Vineyard for a vacation. And the listener goes, oh, Martha's Vineyard. I love Martha's Vineyard. Last year, my family, and off they go on the big tangent. Okay. So those are some of the ways that people listen. So Felicia, can I ask you if you will take 30 seconds and talk about a problem? It can be anything, something that you're just kind of like, you're going to make it big and you're going to grouse and pretend that it's, well, not pretend, it's actually something, but really like something actual that's bothersome to you. And we're going to put you on the clock for about 30 seconds. And then we're going to come to Paul and he's going to listen to you as if he's going to fix it. We're going to come to Julia and she's going to listen for drama. Oh, and Melissa, you're going to steal the spotlight and take over and make her topic all about you. Anyone of my players not clear what I'm asking? Okay, Paul, you ready?
Yep.
And Julia?
Yeah.
And Melissa? Yep. Okay, ready? So 30 seconds of Felicia, and then we'll go 1, 2, 3. Ready? Start. Go ahead, Felicia. Make it big.
So I guess I'll just talk about a problem that I have going on here at HAYVN. So I have taken one of the private offices and turned it into a data room where there's about 15 computers in there. So it's great that it's become this, because right now during COVID, we can't have people, or we couldn't have people in the space. But the problem is the air conditioner, it's not keeping it as cool as possible. So I've asked the landlord to reduce the air conditioning, and now I have to go out and buy, I've bought an air conditioner that's going to get installed, and it's, you know, adding a cost that I wasn't expecting because of the situations that, you know, just because I'm not getting the response I want from internally in the building. And now it's, you know, beyond that, I have to kind of time it all, get the electricity to work properly and all the stuff. So it's just added more problems, you know, kind of working through it, but just super frustrating.
And time. Nicely done. And our heart is with you. In fact, but we're about to do a really bad job of listening to you. Okay. So Paul, can you do a really good job of listening badly by, go ahead and, okay, listen to fix her problem.
I wish it wasn't a real problem, Felicia, because I feel bad about trying to do this. Well, obviously that's giving you so many troubles or worries that you've got to think of something else, right? You got to do something. Just talking to the building has not been enough. Paying extra money isn't the right solution. So maybe we should look at other things we can do within the space that won't cost so much money.
Paul,
God, I feel really poorly on this.
Hey, Paul, you're doing really poorly at the job of doing a bad job of listening. You're listening far too well here.
I can't.
You can't do it. Who wants to take
so counterintuitive?
Well, I'm actually glad to hear that. Thank you. That's a wonderful thing. So listening to fix would be like, Felicia, you know what you should do? You should write a bill to the owner of the building, and you should just charge them right back. I just think that's the only thing that you can do. It's ridiculous that you're paying. How's that? Paul, you see how that is? Please don't take any lesson from that. I just want to model it. And Felicia, it comes with judgment. It comes with, and it usually has the word shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Right.
Did you know what I could? Yeah, here's what you should have done.
I have to confess that this is a great flaw of mine that for 30 years I've been working on. So it's very hard for me to go back on just
I'm
that.
Pleased to hear that. Let us not help you fall off the wagon on
I don't
that
want to
particular
relapse.
skills. No relapsing. Excellent. Thank you. And thanks, Terry. Exactly. And listening for drama. So who I got? Julia, you got it?
Yeah, I think I do.
Go ahead.
Well, I really do think, Felicia, that your engineer should have known that you were going to have a full rack of computer equipment that needed more AC. So I would go back to the engineer, and I hope he's not working with your landlord, because you know they're probably in cahoots. So you might end up paying even more for a system that you might not even need.
And Julia, that is a beautiful job of both fixing and drama. And here's the beautiful part. We couldn't even hear all your words, but we knew you were in drama because of your voice, and your intonation was like, you know, and you can hear it in someone's voice. They get all didactic and all up in their crawl about how this has to be. And Felicia, in terms of feeling connected with, do you feel connected in that case with Julia? Do you feel like she's really paying attention to you? You're on, oh, there.
Yeah, no. I couldn't hear actually all the pieces.
Okay,
but
yeah,
in some ways, yes, because like she's feeling bad for me, you know, which is
good. Yeah, she's joined you in your pain. She hasn't necessarily advanced the conversation a whole lot, but she at least has joined you in your pain. So there's a little bit of relief for that, and some people do like to be joined in the pain and stealing the spotlight. So Melissa, what do you got?
Yeah, well, I mean, I know because I worked in that office. That office is so hot. I was in there with a client a couple times, and we were both just really hot, didn't know what was going on with the air conditioning. And so, you know, I really can, you know, understand what you mean about the air conditioning. It's, you know, just was a real problem for me when I was in there and trying to mentor someone with, you know, the heat coming out.
Perfect. And again, not bad to commiserate. If I continue down a pathway where I use up all of the talk time and it becomes about me and my story as opposed to listening to where Felicia is in her story, then I actually am not going to accomplish the intention that I had with the kind of impact that I want. So these are examples of what listening is not. So thank you for practicing. Now, time-wise, Felicia, you tell me. I can dive into how to make it work, or I can turn it over to the group and say, I have a handout for you that's going to show you good listening.
Yeah.
Where are we?
Okay, well, we're over time. So what we could
Okay.
do is if people want to stay on, maybe they can ask, you can show how they
I
can
can
get more
happy
in
to do
touch with
Q&A,
you.
yeah.
And if people want to continue going through some of the pieces, that's fine too. So
Excellent. Yeah.
I'd-
So Terry, you were going to say?
Yeah. I would love more information about angry without being at the effect of anger.
Yay, yeah. So I can absolutely do that. And before I do, just for those of you who need to jump because of a time commitment, there's a handout that Felicia is prepared to send out, which shows what hearing really is. So let me just quickly review these with you. There is a methodology for listening, and it goes like this. You can restate. It taps into your IQ. I like to talk about IQ, EQ, and BQ associated with being effective in listening. Your IQ, your brain, your neocortex steps in. It's factual. It's very methodical, and it's good. It's good information. It says to the other person, I heard you. When you rephrase, on the other hand, it sends a slightly more nuanced message that says, not only did I hear you, but I understood you, and it hears emotion behind. So that's where that EQ, some of you, Paul, you did a beautiful job of it. And Julia, I think you were doing a good job of it as well in your example. I mean, each of you is what you were attempting to do is to show behind the scenes that you actually understood that the person was having an emotional experience. That's excellent. There's something called a reframe, and I say this really involves the BQ, and here's what I mean by that. BQ is something that we call body wisdom. By the way, I'm pulling this out of a larger context, so some of this would have been covered earlier, but BQ says not only are you intellectually smart and emotionally smart, you're resonating. There's a body wisdom that we all have, and when you reframe and in your own language what the other person said, you help to create a momentum and deliver insight into their problem. So I'm going to send you something that is very overwhelming, and if we want to have another piece where I take you through these in some detail, I'm happy to do that. Here's the piece you're going to get. Restate tells the client, I heard you. It plays back verbatim what they said. The rephrase says, I understand you, and it says, I'm concerned about, the issue is, I hear you saying that. The reframe takes what is a problem and turns it into a possibility. So Felicia, I'm understanding, sounds like you told the guy that you needed to go get that you're going to install a new AC. Is that correct? Have I got you right? I've just restated. Yeah. Rephrase. If I understand you correctly, also you're really concerned about the fact that it's too hot and you're frustrated about it. Is that true?
Yes.
Yeah. So now I've just rephrased. On a reframe, and Paul, you started down this pathway. I can add momentum, insight, and influence by playing back things like, so moving forward, Felicia, I'm hearing a few things. One is, it sounds like you really are needing to fix this situation so that you personally can sit in that office and feel more comfortable. Is that true?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You didn't quite say this, but were I in your position, I'd also be a little bit concerned about the fact that you have other tenants and you want to make sure that they're taken care of as well. Is that true?
Yes, that is true.
Yeah. Yeah. And did you hear how her voice just lowered ever so slightly? We're getting closer to something that's emotionally important to her because the octave in her voice just went down 1 or 2. And, moving forward, and Paul, you started this beautifully. You're looking for a way to not only get this one air conditioning system in so that this next few weeks will be easy, but overall, I'm guessing you'd really like to find an alternative way to make sure that the space is really supportive to everyone there through the hottest months, and that you're perfectly, and you feel comfortable as a business owner, really supplying the kind of service that you want for everybody. Is that true?
That's exactly true.
And here's the word she just used, and it is my most favorite word in the English language. It's the word exactly. She was not coached, but out of nowhere, she says the word exactly. When my clients say that, it's long before I ever offer a solution. Notice we haven't solved her problem, but my suspicion is between the beginning of this conversation and this moment, Felicia doesn't have a solution, but she probably feels a little more relieved to be joined in a way that feels like it has momentum and insight, and I can now influence that if I have a solution, I'm in a better position to influence the outcome. And I didn't solve her problem. All I did was listen at a level where she really felt gotten, is my guess. And we're talking about an air conditioning system. Terry, we're not talking about what goes on up in Hartford, and I can imagine, and sometimes in the halls of Darien. And Paul, I suspect with your clients, and Melissa, when you're working with the folks who come through in your beautiful business, you've helped me, so thank you. So all of this is to say that this skill of listening has this tremendous ability to have people want to work harder together and to be available to one another. Felicia is much more inclined in that state of mind to hear any solution I might have than she was if I try and do this ahead of time. I call it solution softball, and it's the me cue. I suddenly make her topic all about me, and 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out. You know what you should do? I can't believe, as soon as you do those 1, 2, 3, boom, you've missed it, and she's out of there. So you'll get this page, and you'll get this page from Felicia if you'd like to have it. And if you'd like a further explanation of this or practice, either ask me to come in or we'll do another one of these with Felicia's kind indulgence. Okay, now I'd love to handle Terry's question, but I want to make sure everyone feels a sense of completion and closure. And if Felicia, you wanted to say anything, and then I'm happy to stay on for Q&A, starting with Terry's question.
Okay. So just real quick, I sent it out, this worksheet out to everybody who is on the call just now, except I didn't have Julia Walter's email address, which I'll look up afterwards. But this was wonderful, Molly. I'm going to stay on to hear more because I am the should person, and it's not according
noticing.
to
Nice noticing. Good job.
Yeah. So and what we can stick around a little more, and then again, if anybody wants another session like this, we can have the platform for it. Again, welcome to, at some point when people feel comfortable, to come back into the space and do something like this. We like I said, it's pretty quiet. We have the socially distanced meeting room set up when you guys are ready, but I will let you continue, and thank you so much. It's wonderful.
Thanks so much for hosting. I really appreciate being invited.
And do you want to stop share, or do you need to share to do?
No, actually, no, I don't.
Everybody. Okay.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Thanks for saying that. That's awesome.
Okay, so people can stick around, and if anybody wants to continue the conversation at 4:30, we will be outside with wine in our open space, so we can see you there too. Okay.
Great, and I will be there. Awesome. Thank you so much. Nice. Thank you. Hey there, Terry. So say a little bit more about the desire to understand about the difference between anger versus the expression of anger without the blame and shame, and then I can tell you. Yeah, I think you're on mute. Thanks.
I am, because the dogs bark a lot.
Yeah, okay.
So I guess, I don't know how that's different from what you said earlier about angry. How can you feel angry without being at the effect of anger? So
right.
Hanging on a conversation, and there's one person in particular that I'm thinking of that he's just closed. There's no discussion. He's always right. He blames, he deflects, he ducks, he dodges. It's very difficult to work with this person.
Yeah.
And I come away so effing furious sometimes, but I've learned to not be, just to say, well, that's the way it, except that I can't change that.
Right.
It's hard though. It's hard.
Absolutely. So one of the things, I'm gonna steal the screen again for just a moment, and the reason is, and this is in the last, I believe that these are posted. So I did something on the drama triangle, and I encourage you to go in. The drama, what's happening here, if you're ever in conflict with anyone, anywhere, at any time on any topic, you're in what's called the Karpman triangle, victim, villain, hero. And what's happening here, and I don't have all my slides in this deck, so I can't show you everything, but it's based on the work of Fritz Perls from the Gestalt therapy movement, which is one of the many forms of therapy out there. I happen to love this one because it's very body-centered. But these guys came in the 1950s and they said, if you're ever in conflict, well, I say, if you're ever in conflict with anyone, anywhere, at any time, you're on the Karpman triangle, victim, villain, and hero. Hero meaning rescuer and overstepper. What's happening in the case where someone, you're talking with them and they are, there's a possibility and again, these are available through Felicia if you want to see any of this. There's a possibility that the person is intentionally just wed to the idea of being in a victim position, and that their intention coming into the conversation could be to not be as productive as you had hoped. The other is, more likely, their emotional triggers are hitting. Now, I have a dear friend who loves to, her name's Katie Hendricks. She's out in Ojai, California. She's Hendricks Institute, which is the Conscious Living, Conscious Loving. She's a Gestalt PhD. And she says, if it's hysterical, it's historical. And what a lot of people don't understand often is that they get into conversations, they hear something and it triggers old wounds, and they're not what's called current. So a lot of times in therapy, the whole goal of therapy is to get people all the way through their old triggers and to arc all of their emotional baggage so that they can get closure on things. And once they do, then you're available to your current emotions. Like, you know, it used to be, so full reveal, so I had an alcoholic mother. So, you know, things would happen and I would become extremely jangled by it. After working through the arc of what it means to see people and learn about how not to be, how to be triggered, I suddenly can step away from that and be in the presence of things that I know I can't control and go, oh yeah, that's not my work. Bless his heart and let's move on. You know, so, but the anger, the piece that's not in here, and I can share it at another time, is, or you can, my videos are in process right now. The other is, there is something called the body map of emotion. And on the body map, it says that there are 5 primary colors of emotion: anger, and this is the zone of anger up here. It's a triggering, and it's not like, it's just a yes, no, it's a boundary setting mechanism. And we usually register through our jaw, tendinitis, headaches, chronic sinus, neck pain, lower back. Right here is deep anger, if it keeps showing up. So these are the kinds of things that say, I have a no somewhere, or I have a boundary being crossed and I'm not expressing it and processing it. There's sadness. I work with pulmonologists and they're like, oh yeah. Anyone with these chronic bronchial issues are often unexpressed sadness. Fear, which resides in your gut. Sexual attraction, which is another form of creativity. And then joy. And joy is like people who are joyful walking down a block. I love this. Walking down a block, people who are joyful, they actually bump into fewer people than those who are depressed. And it's like we have bat radar. We're able to navigate because we're much more available to just past our own body limits. And so we navigate more like a bat radar. So what's happening when you're in a conversation, you're in conflict and you're kind of firing like, oh, this isn't quite right, is it could be that what you're attempting to do is to have a conversation on what you think is a similar intention, plain to get the impact, and somebody there has a different intention, or they are being triggered by the conversation, and therefore their neocortex is hijacked and their limbic brain is at play, and now you're trying to be rational and they can't be. And then the third is when you go to express your anger, very often we feel like anger is a matter of, we hold back on the boundary. The boundary is flagging, saying a boundary is being crossed, and a no. But because we want to express that, we probably hold back for polite, hold back for polite, hold back. And then finally we want to go, you're making me angry. Well, that's actually not true. I'm angry, and what I'm witnessing in you, I'm choosing anger. Right. So the radical responsibility, because here's what I see people do. The difference between anger is a yes, no, it's binary, it's quick, it's clean. It says, you're not wrong and I'm not right, and here's my boundary. You get to do it your way over there, but I'm over here. You're welcome into my world. Just don't bring that with you. Otherwise, you're going to cross my boundary, and I have a no, and it's a definitive. What happens is most people don't know how to just say no and be good with it. And whatever experience happens on the other side, that's up to them. I want to take responsibility for how they're having their reaction. And that's what gets me onto the drama triangle. Now I'm victim, villain, hero. We're all playing around the triangle. There is a version of the drama triangle off the triangle, which is coach, collaborator, and challenger. And it's this ability to navigate emotion without that blame, shame. So I'm angry, I'm sad, or I'm fearful. As soon as I say, and you made it happen, I've integrated blame and shame with the expression of my emotion. I've let go of responsibility for the fact of how I'm feeling and the choice that I'm making, or the fact that I got triggered and have work to do to clean it up so that I can be in your presence and have a different opinion and not blame and shame. And once I learned how to go like this, oh, this is blame and shame. My anger is no. My sadness is I feel sad. In your presence, I notice myself choosing or being sad. Those are different. Do you hear the difference in those?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I do. Very interesting. Well, it's been so helpful. Just for everybody who's still on the call, I've met with Molly probably in the last 8 years. I think maybe we've met, and just about all our common interests. And it's been such enlightenment for me to learn how you train and what you think about. And certainly that drama triangle, I remember just the world opening up, that we don't have to buy into that. And that has been so helpful, certainly in my work in Hartford, of seeing it, being aware of it, and not having to feed into it.
Right. And the next step is like how to transition through it. And
right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. So thank you. This was great.
Yeah. Thank you.
Really great. Thank you, Felicia.
Thanks. Yeah.
Thank you too.
Yeah.
Thanks. Any other questions? I'm here. Otherwise, Felicia.
Yeah, just a quick question about the difference between listening to fix and listening with a solution.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate
question.
that you're saying that. So, listening with a solution is really for people who come in with with an agenda of like, I've got something to sell. And so I'm going to listen to what I call fact fish. I'm going to pick up just enough information. I'm going to filter everything that you're saying and just cherry pick the information to put it together to create a cohesive argument to slap my solution on top of it and say, see, this is what you should buy. That's a listening with a solution. Listening to fix, on the other hand, is listening in a way where I'm picking up the information, but I'm not trying to go through the exercise of, let me see, Felicia, if I understand what you're saying. I'm just going, you know what she should do? And another thing she might want to do. And you know what I would do if I were in her? She shoulda. So the listening to with a solution is coming in with a prescribed thing and fishing for the information. Listening to fix is filtering without ever really hearing Felicia, more hearing yourself talk based on what she's saying to, oh, here's an idea, here's an idea, here's an idea. And what it sets you up for is that solution softball, 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out. And what you're out on, the strikes, are against your credibility and your empathy points. And I didn't take us through the trust piece, but people can't trust you if they don't see that you care about them and that you have the credibility of what you're doing before you start trying to solve their problem. They won't have the opportunity to witness that in you in a way that is not about you, that is about them. And that's where listening creates that little space between them talking and us solving, is a space where we meet them on their terms. And I mostly I bring that forward in my sales training, which I do extensively. And that's one of those places that you can really make a difference for someone. Yeah. How's that?
Thank you. Yeah, that helps.
Yeah, thanks for asking. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay. Anything else?
No, but really just great information.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank
I'm really
you.
honored to be here. Really appreciate it. And Felicia, I just want to just shout out to you, watching you navigate the last 3 months, when the premise, not unlike my own, but the premise of your business is people gathering together, and to see how quickly you pivoted and see how you brought this community forward and see how you continue to offer value is amazing. And I am so admiring of what you've accomplished. Thank you.
Thank you, Molly. If I could put this on our website, what you just said, that would be awesome.
I will, you go grab that little piece and put it everywhere.
Okay, thanks. Well,
and I'll do it again
from
if
your
you'd
lips
like.
too. We'll see how this goes. Okay, I appreciate it. Great. I again hope to see you guys someday.
All right.
Yeah.
Take
where
care.
we can do virtual hugs.
Yes.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.